Good evening and welcome into the Pacers Podcast Show. I'm Kyle Newman, your host.
And I'm Rhett Hensley, your co-host.
We have a great lineup for the next 45 minutes. We will discuss the Pacers' current offseason news, chat about the possibility of the Western Conference breaking up and blending with the Eastern Conference. How would Indiana fare in the Western Conference? And have fun with Indiana's roster as far as off-season free time fun goes. Rhett, it's great to have you back. 9th Pacers Podcast Show. We are just on a roll. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm faring pretty well. I'm doing good.
Great. Hey, that's always good. You're healthy. Things are great. You got a lot going on in your life, and you're ready to talk Pacers, right?
I am. I'm ready to talk some Pacers.
Well, great. I am, too. Always ready to talk some Pacers. All right, so then let's get into it, and let's talk some current off-season news, Rhett. It's been interesting so far. Roy Hibbert, a lot of talk. Roy Hibbert maybe is going to get traded. Maybe not because of the player option. Talk about that, Rhett.
Well, I think that, like you just said, I don't know if it's going to be trading per se. It'll be if he opts in, which would be probably the smartest idea for him. The Indiana Pacers that'd probably be the biggest loss for them. But him opting in is guaranteed $15.5 million, I believe. So I don't see any other team coming close to matching that. Yeah, that number is just crazy for somebody with the stats that he's had through the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So I don't see anybody coming close to matching that. But as he has seen, it was kind of a statement from Larry Bird and Coach Vogel that from my perspective, they don't want him back. So
no, they don't. And you talk about that. Well, here's what Bird said. Of his keys, one of his keys for next year is playing a little faster tempo. We've got to score more points, and to do that, you've got to run. And also, you hear things like from the reporters, does new scheme mean Roy Hibbert will be benched? Vogel said possibly. Roy's role will be diminished. There it is again. Always appreciate candor of Pacers president Larry Bird. He said Roy Hibbert didn't play well and will have lesser of a role if back next year. So you hear things like that, Rhett, and you have to think maybe in Roy Hibbert's mind, well, certainly in the Pacers' minds, it sure seems like they don't want him back with his lack of production. And in his mind, what do you think he does? Because maybe he sees that as, oh, wow, well, that's a shot. So you guys don't have faith in me anymore, so, yeah, I might as well leave. Or you think he'll stick it to the old Pacers, and I'm going to stick with you guys. What do you think?
Well, I think he'll say, well, hell, you guys pay me $15 million, I'll be happy sitting on the bench. That's how I feel about that. I sure as heck wouldn't turn down $15 million just for sticking with him for one more season.
Hey, I agree with that. Vogel
actually probably wouldn't turn down $20,000, but
hey, $20. Let's get this straight. Money's money. So you understand it from that aspect, but he just did not have a good season this year. And Vogel, talking about Roy Hibbert's season, said he's got to work on his craft like all of us do, and he'll do that. So isn't that, though, Rhett, been the same trend these past few years that we've heard from Roy Hibbert and the confidence and the trust in him year after year, trying to be the franchise center? He'll work on it. I'll get better. I'm working with Kareem. I'm going to come back and I'm going to be the MVP. And every year, it seems, he's declining.
Yeah, I kind of see this as, how you went and got lessons from one of the golf pros at, Eagle Point,
lessons.
A golf course in Indiana.
Good point, yes.
I feel like him working with Kareem, that is probably one of Kareem's biggest letdowns And, as I'm referring to the golf lessons from you, that was probably the golf pros, one of his
Are you trying to
worst
take a shot at me?
accomplishments. I am. I'm taking a shot at you, Kyle.
Brett,
I'm just comparing the two. Probably one of their worst accomplishments, helping anybody. I'm throwing it out there.
well, hey, feel free to. I'm looking forward to playing you this year and beating you. But hey, apples to oranges. It'll be interesting. But it is. I do find it interesting that Bird and Vogel aren't afraid to let Hibbert know that things have to change, and I wonder how that will settle with Roy Hibbert, and that's what will be interesting with this offseason with him going forward. So I don't know. I think that's the biggest area that the Pacers have to focus with right now on this current team is with him, as he has that option. David West, obviously, too, has the option. But you know what? He is still a bad man, and when he is healthy, I think that he can still give the Pacers some solid minutes and some good production. And
Yes, sir.
based on what other moves may happen, the draft, which we'll talk about here a little bit, that it will be interesting to see, but the Pacers have a lot to think about, and there's a lot of good players out there on the market, so
Yeah.
we will see what happens with that. But how about Paul George? Now he's shifting his gear to the offseason. We got to see him play a few games, and we talked about it last week. We thought that with his minutes that he was given, that he did pretty well coming in, and didn't look like the old Paul George, but showed some signs of it. And now, even though the road is long, Paul George, you have to believe, has gained his confidence from his little bit of time on the floor. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that he has, and he's going to be getting, he's going to be playing in, I think, the mini camps this summer with Team USA, which I'll be holding my breath. Let's make sure that they don't put the goals too close to the line.
Exactly. Maybe that will be good for him to get over that little mental fear that he's had coming back.
Yeah, and he even admitted to that fear of the goal being too close. But,
hey, honest
it's
man.
It's a fear you need to get over.
Yeah.
But I do see him, I feel like he's going to he set his mind when he was injured to getting even stronger, getting better, and I feel like he's going to go into the offseason with the same focus and drive. I mean, he gained 11 pounds of muscle in the time that he was out, so I feel like, he's gonna continue that, and, who knows, maybe we'll even see like a LeBron in him. Just swell.
It would be nice to see that swole man out there. That would be great. Well, here's what, after the loss to the Grizzlies that ended the Pacers season, he had some things to say about how he's feeling. He said, "I feel good. My calf is a little sore." He said, with playing 6 games, it gave me a lot of confidence. He said, "I have a long way to go, but being out there put it into perspective of what I need to work on this summer, which is the ultimate goal, to find the areas that I really could improve at and go from there." So, again, I think that we would both agree, Rhett, that he had some solid games with the minutes that he had. And you had to be a little nervous as a Pacers fan in that Grizzly game when he came down and he needed to be carried off. You kind of feared at first, did he injure the same leg again? And once we found out that it wasn't, what kind of an injury is this now? Can he not even walk? And it ended up just being a minor calf injury, which was good. But we saw, and I admit I didn't know up until that point how big of a bruise he had on his leg.
It wasn't even a bruise. It was a nice sized knot.
It was. So he's been playing with some pain still, and I can't even imagine the discomfort. And to go out there and to give it all for his team in the minutes that he had, I think was pretty successful. And I look forward to his work that he's going to put in this summer, and to hear him in the news and to see the videos of him getting back to the old Paul George, and I can only expect him this fall to come back better than ever. What do you think?
I agree. Like I said, he's got the mindset, and hopefully he continues going into the same mindset. Maybe he'll even get a chef, just like like I believe LeBron, Kyle Korver did that, changed his diet. I think that one thing that he needs to focus on in the off season is getting bigger. He plays a small forward spot. I would like to see him like LeBron. Like to see him that size, muscular, and if he comes back like I'm talking and playing like the old Paul George, he would be unstoppable. And
I agree.
That's what the Pacers need.
Yeah, no, they definitely would be. And it's just interesting to me to see. So, our star is working his way back this summer. Roy, here we have players that you don't know, you're trying to add to the roster and see what can be done. And now we know a little bit about the draft. Thanks to the Pacers' loss and Indiana winning the draw and tiebreaker over Utah, they secured the 11th pick in the NBA draft, and in the second round, they will either get the 42nd or the 43rd pick. Rhett, they didn't get the lottery, but just outside of it, there are a lot of good players there. What do you think about where they're at here, and maybe who they should take now?
Well, I think they're in a good position. The rumors that I have seen that they're rumored to get. Let's see here. Willie Cauley-Stein, I believe, is his name.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein is right there. Him and Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre is still on a lot of draft boards at the 11 for the Pacers, and
that is not one I would like to see.
No, I don't either. I want to see a big man.
Yeah.
The Pacers need a big man, and Trey Lyles for Kentucky is being projected at 9. So right in that area, Sam Decker's being projected at 12 to Utah. Now, it's a good player, but again, I think the Pacers need to – how about they need a big man? How about go down to 16 where Frank Kaminsky's looking to be picked up at? I think Frank Kaminsky would be a perfect pickup for the Pacers.
Yeah.
11th pick.
The thing is, I don't know if he will convert into a good NBA type of player. I see it as kind of a risky type of thing there.
Really?
Yes. So.
How so?
Well, first of all, it's going to sound bad, but I don't see too many white people in the NBA that play great, and that's stereotyping there. But
just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just a teensy bit. But it's this type of play. He would have to. He's a great college player. He would just have to be a big transition into the NBA. I feel like he'd get beat up pretty hefty. But
I completely disagree.
But Cody Zeller, that one was a total thing that I figured would be a big bust in the NBA, and I called that one wrong. And Tyler Zeller, he is killing it. So really, I could have called it wrong, but
you're calling it wrong.
But
I'm
also
calling you out.
a few episodes ago, I said that Frank Kaminsky would be something to think about.
You sure did.
Because of the fact of how he is. He's a good shooter. He's good at defense. He's got great footwork. But,
Which is why I think he will excel in the NBA. He will be an exception. Frank Kaminsky is the real deal for the 7-footer, is a great big man. I think the Pacers Need to go for him. Get him up there at 11.
I feel like it could be risky, but, I feel like he's got to gain some weight. He's got to hit the weight room. He gets in there with some Dwight Howard type of people. He's going to be sitting on the floor asking for his mama.
Yeah. So disrespectful, as this great Stephen A. Smith would say. You know what? If the Pacers do not get Kaminsky or another big man, I think we both agree it needs to be a big man that they pick. And another one that's right there is Miles Turner from Texas. He's a big man, 6'11", 243. And he's a guy who I've watched a little bit this past season. And he has he's solid. He's so big so he can move guys in the paint. So he has pretty good footwork. He's okay defensively. But that's another one who, if the Pacers have a choice between Kelly Oubre or Miles Turner, take the big man, because the Pacers need a big man, because I think Roy Hibbert's gone. And that is where Indiana needs to look in this draft. First pick especially. Now you get into the second round here, and let's talk about that a little bit. I'm a big fan of this because I'm a big Hawkeye fan, and right at 42 and 43 is Mr. Aaron White, the redhead himself, who can ball. So if the Pacers pick up in the first round a big man, Rhett, I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the draft. I think that the Pacers can afford to get a guard or a forward in the second round. And if that's the case, there are a lot of good players right around there. I just mentioned the Hawkeye himself, Aaron White. Brandon Ashley's a power forward who's right there on a lot of draft boards. Joseph Young from Oregon, solid point guard and shooting guard. So, and even Ryan Boatwright from UConn, kind of like a Kemba Walker. So, those guys are there. That's what I think. You get a big man in the first round, Indiana. You pick up a guard in the second. What do you think, Rhett?
I think that one player that, kind of stands out to me in the second round, if they do not go for a big man in the first round, would be A.J. Hammonds.
Oh, boy. The boiler himself.
I think that would be a good pickup. He had a pretty solid career he had a solid career playing for Purdue. I think that would be one of a risk that you could take a look at and, take some work, but I think it could be a good risk if the Indiana Pacers take somebody as like a guard in the first round. I do not see that happening, them taking a guard in the first round, but...
so what do you want? If you think that you want Indiana to take a big man in the first round, right?
Yes.
So then in the second round, do you want them to also take that big man, or do you think they should take a guard?
Well, I think that they should take a guard if they...
it's the right guard?
If it's the right guard. There's just so many things that you can... Lance Stevenson was a second-round draft pick, so there's plenty of room that you can get for a good player. It's really you just have to pick it right, and the Indiana Pacers have not done very well when it's come to that. So
no, they have not.
So it is a kind of something I would like to see a point guard, but really I would just like to pick up some good. I mean, a backup center would be great also, because Jan Mahimi his contract is expiring, I believe, and if Roy Hibbert's gone, well, you need to fill both of those positions, because Mahimi just did not get it done this year. So really, it could go either way. I'd be happy with either a point guard in the second round or a center or a power forward.
All right. Well, hey, there you have it.
I had to take to clear that up. I was confusing myself.
We're somewhat on the same page, it seems, Rhett. Though I disagree with you about Kaminsky. We'll see what the Pacers think.
I think that he has potential to be good. It's just how he wants to transition into the NBA.
Nothing like that potential.
Yes.
I'll take it. Put me on the slot machines, and I'm going for them. All
Put
right.
the nail in the coffin.
That's right. So that's kind of what's going on with Indiana right now in the off season. Each show you can expect us to talk more about some news that's going on and what's happened with any draft news or whatever it may be, off season chatter, summer camps, whatever it is. We'll try and talk about it in a segment. So, Rhett, let's transition into this next segment here and talk about the possibility of the Western Conference breaking up and blending with the Eastern Conference. I'll start with you. How would Indiana fare in the Western Conference?
Oh, buddy, if we're talking about this year, I would say lotto pick for us.
How about that?
But, if we're talking about next year, I think that they would probably be maybe a 13th team if the conferences were smashed together. I wouldn't see them making it past 10, being the top 10 teams, because you get into the Western Conference, and that is just a stacked
deep conference. It's deep.
Yeah.
How deep? Well, let's just explain. The top 16, scratch that. The top 7 teams in the West, all 7 seeds, all of the top 7 teams have at least 50 wins.
That is crazy.
The 8th seed, the Pelicans, have 45 wins. The 9th seed, Thunder, who missed the playoffs, had 45 wins. And the 10th seed Suns had 39. This conference is absolutely incredibly deep. It's almost unfair, it seems, how lopsided it is. And it's been a couple of years, right? This talk, it's kind of floated around that the possibility of the West breaking up and moving some teams to the Eastern Conference and vice versa. I agree with you. If Indiana this year were in the Western Conference, they would have been at the very bottom.
Yeah.
This Western Conference is unbelievably deep. Now, next year, I believe Indiana would sneak into the 7 or 8 seed because Paul George would be back, and Paul George is the man. I would pick Indiana to get in.
Put the brakes on.
End.
Put the brakes on here. Here, it really just matters. Who are they going to get in the off season? Now, basically, like the whole team's leaving. Their contracts are up, as I would say. It's all going to matter who they pick up, who are they going to keep. That is one of the big things. How is Paul George going to come back? And that's really what puts it into my eyes here. I think that, like I said, the highest I think that they would be is a top 10. Nothing higher than that, not going to go to an 8 seed like you, Kyle. But
wow, no faith.
I do not have faith in that part right there. That would be something that would be very surprising to me. And, as you can see, the Western Conference is stacked. Like you said, the top 7 seeds are over 50 wins. I mean,
it's very tough when you say that, but how about this? Let's throw a couple interesting things out there. Though the Western Conference deep, and it is, defined better. It's interesting when you talk about it that way because in the past 15 years, since 2000, the West has currently won the NBA championship 10 out of 5 times. So they have a 10-5 record in the past 15 years that a Western Conference team has been the champion.
Wow.
So, though that is impressive, it's not total domination, but it is double, and you look at that and you do see that, okay, the trend. Now, if you go just before that, then you have the East catching up quickly because of Michael Jordan and the Bulls of the championships they won. But 10-5 does show some domination there in the West, and it's been the Spurs for a lot of the years. But I'm curious. I don't know how I would define the best, because in the end, what's the teams that's winning the championship out of the West these years? It's not the 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 seeds. It's the top 3 seeds, just as in the East. So, we could talk about how deep the West is, but in the end, the depth is not winning in there. It's the top in the West that ends up winning the championship. So when I look at it, I think of the top conference being more of, okay, who wins the championship to kind of represent the East and the West. I kind of look at it like that. You have to look at the depth, but at the same time, the East. Let's see what happens this year. All these teams, all the talk about how bad the East is and barely getting teams into the playoffs, with records like Brooklyn and Boston, who are under 500, and even the 6 seed Bucks, who were at 500 themselves. Let's see what they do. They've been fighting. You never know. And I'll go as far as to say is the first 50-win team in the East is the Bulls. At the 3 seed is the highest 50-win team there, as opposed to all the way down in the West at number 7, Dallas. So let's see. Do the Raptors make a run in the playoffs for the East and get down to the end and do something? And though they were in the top on the East, they would have been in the bottom in the West, and yet they made a run to prove that maybe record doesn't matter so much. You get in the playoffs and anything can happen. So, you hear the debate all the time, and there's been talks about it breaking up. I'm curious, Rhett, how do you see it when it comes to the best conference and how deep the West is? What do you think about it?
Well, like you said, just because the West is stacked, as I'm saying, but like the LA Clippers, for instance, we talked about this not too long ago. Great team, 56 wins, but what has that got them throughout the years? So you can have a team over there that is getting that many wins, but is that going to transpire into championships?
Exactly. Is that any different if they get knocked out in the first round as opposed to the Celtics under 500 getting knocked out in the first round?
Yeah.
Are they really that much better? Now you can argue, okay, well, the competition they're playing in the West in the playoffs right now is better. Well, to me, it's apples and oranges a little bit, because you see upsets all the time. That's why I like to see. Let's see that clash in the championship game between the Eastern Conference team and the Western Conference team, and go from bragging rights from there. But lately, it's been almost trading back and forth of Eastern and Western Conference champions. The Heat had their run of 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So,
and
I mean, it's
you gotta think it this way too. Is Indiana's a smaller market, and there's a lot of teams from the East that are small market teams.
Exactly. You have to do with what you have.
Yeah, so I feel like their competition over there is kind of, in their area. You get over to the Western Conference, and those are high market teams. LA Lakers, Clippers, Golden State. I mean, they are big name teams, and they're not small market. So really, one thing, I have pros and cons of this. I would love to see us play Golden State more, the Lakers, or any of those teams. I think that is one of the pros, getting to see them play different teams more often than just seeing them
Right.
play the Eastern Conference. But
A little
then,
more bragging rights you
yeah,
get to see.
but then, I do like to see, does the Eastern Conference win? Who am I supporting, the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference? If that broke up, I wouldn't be able to do that. I do like to see those two different, it's like a divider that I like to
Yes.
see.
I like to see it too, and I agree. I don't want to see it break up. I think it's
Traditional.
good for it's traditional. It's been how it's always been. I like that. I think it's good for the game, and I think it's good because it gives teams in the East and teams in the West certainly something to play for in bragging rights. But teams in the East, they have a chip on their shoulder. They're probably tired of hearing all the talks of how the West is so much better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's interesting like that. I will say this: there is some stuff out there that some people think that this is what should happen, and I don't know. And when I say I don't know where it came from, but I don't agree with it. But basically, they want the NBA to end conferences, which is just different, and they're basing it off
Wait,
of
do you
the
mean
dominance
divisions?
of the West. No, the conferences, to not even have East versus the Eastern
Yeah,
and Western.
that's what I was
Conference.
talking about, having the top 16 teams making it into the NBA.
Yeah, well, it would just be interesting to see. Basically, you would have no West and no East. It would
Yeah.
just be the NBA teams.
Yeah.
That's stupid. That makes no sense.
What do you think this whole segment was? I mean, that's what we were talking about, combining all the teams together and battling for that
Rhett.
first through 16th. That is,
No,
I mean,
what we're talking about is the possibility of teams switching over to conferences.
oh no, that is just flat out ridiculous.
And blending.
Now,
No,
I could see every year, every other year, kind of like the NFL, how they play different schedules so many different times or whatever, different things like that. But no, that would be dumb in my opinion. We were on a different page here.
Oh, well,
1
it
through
happened.
16,
No, it's okay to talk about that, but it's
that is
either
something
way. It was basically, and it was a hypothetical. So if the teams were to blend and the West would break up to make it more fair for the East, that's the discussion,
Yeah,
and that's where how would Indiana fare in the West if it were to happen that teams would blend over.
But
Would Memphis become in the East? Because does it make sense for Memphis to be in the Western Conference when they're in Tennessee? No, it sure doesn't. So that's the type of things that you think about. I certainly do. Blending, I think, would be interesting, and I don't think would be that bad of a thing. But it's not just from the pride sense of things. I like the competition. I like there being the West and the East, but I'm okay if teams like Memphis, who are actually in the East, transition over into the East, and then it can, it's like a balance power right there, and it worked that way. But if Indiana, for some reason, were to become a Western Conference team, how would they fare? That's the idea, and that's where I was going.
I would like to
Rhett.
clear this up for you right here. Adam Silver is the one that brought up taking out the conferences and combining them and letting the first through the 16 teams battle it out. Now, like I said, that
Stupid.
No, that has its pros and cons.
I don't like it.
In the
no
playoffs,
pros,
no,
all cons.
No, if you make it, okay, the playoffs would be it would be more competition. The best teams. That's how it is. That's how
But that's
I
not
think it should be.
Rhett.
I know
You
it's
said
not
you
tradition. I like tradition, but I can see it from his point of view, having the top 16 teams going at it. How are you going to let somebody? I don't really think it's fair, in my eyes, but I do like traditional But
Especially,
letting a team that's under 500 into the playoffs when they shouldn't be there, and you have a team like Oklahoma City that has, what did they have, 50 wins, I believe, 45, right around there,
45.
and
Hey,
they're over 500, and they can't even make it into the playoffs when they're in the Western Conference. So I don't see, the Indiana Pacers. I don't think they should have made the playoffs. I don't think the Nets should have made the playoffs because they were under 500.
well, who cares if they're under 500? That's the rule. That's how it
Yeah,
goes.
but you got to see it from, their eyes.
That's their tradition.
It is fair.
You can't take it away.
It is fair in everybody else's eyes if 1 through 16 teams best going at it. That's like having the New York Knicks into the playoffs. Tell you what, they'd probably get swept by every single team. Just think if they made it into the playoffs. How about that? What would you say about that?
I would say that if they deserved it and they earned it,
yeah,
then
16
they got it.
wins. Give them a path right in.
Well, obviously, that's why they didn't make the playoffs.
What if it got that bad?
It wouldn't get that bad because you're not going to have that deep of playoffs. So, hey, it would be interesting. I would not like that. I like the tradition of the East and the West. I don't like the blending idea. We have 16 teams in the playoffs. Keep it until the East and the West meet in the championship. That's how it's supposed to be.
I do like that. That is one thing that I do like. That's traditional, but I can see it from Adam's point of view.
It's not. The teams deserve it, even if they aren't.
The teams that are the best teams in the league deserve to be in the playoffs, not the teams that are under 500.
Well, but they were good enough
to
make the playoffs.
Kind of like college. It's the best. It's the best teams. I don't think any team should be in the playoffs if they're under 500. But that's how it is sometimes. But
it is because that's how it's set up, and it's because there's such a disparity between the East and the West. And you know what? That's how it is. I disagree with that because they earned it, and that is how it is.
Oh, they earned not being over 500?
They did because they won enough games to get into the playoffs, and that's how it goes. And that's everybody has to play for something. Just because teams in the West, it's so deep there, and they get to play the Eastern Conference teams, and they whoop up on them, and they get this great record, doesn't mean they're superior in that matter. They make the playoffs, that's great. Do they go anywhere? We just talked about that. The Clippers haven't made it past the first round in how many years?
What if the Clippers played like the Celtics? Or what if they played the Nets? Or the Hawks?
What if they did?
I mean,
it would be interesting.
They
don't always win in the regular season.
How would you like to see the Indiana Pacers play the LA Lakers in the playoffs without them being in the championship? How would you like to see all those things happen? Playing the Warriors.
I wouldn't. You know why? Because that's what the regular season's for. You play interconference games.
2 games.
That's
2 games
that's
to the
why.
year.
And that's enough. I like the tradition. That's how it should be kept. I don't see it being changed. But you know what?
I'm not a fan of only playing them 2 games because of the fact that I have not seen Kobe play in action, and I have to before his final season.
Then this is
because
a
he's always
discussion. This is a different discussion for a different day because then we would be talking about the teams. Then we would talk about playing less conference teams to play more Western Conference teams,
which would just be a mess.
To even it out, so you have to if you want to play more interconference games, then we have to play one less division game, or we have to play one less, a game less against Miami.
I say get rid of the divisions. Get rid of the divisions and just go conferences. That's how it should be.
Well, that's where Rhett stands with it. I disagree, but that's the beauty of America. You have your opinion. That's the beauty of us going at it here. All right, let's get into this last segment here, Rhett. It will be interesting. It will be fun. Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers and their awesome roster that we love so much. And let's have some fun with it. They're in the off season right now.
Yeah.
What do you do in the off season, Rhett?
Oh, well, I think of about every day is my off season. So It really just depends on the season. I like to golf. I like to go play some basketball. I don't like to go to school. Not a fan of college, but there's a lot of stuff I like to go do. What about you?
That's good. Right. I like to do it all. I'm a jack of all trades.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
I love to golf, baby. I love to play basketball.
Only if you're good at it.
No. Even if I'm not good at it, I still enjoy it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love to do that. I love to boat. There are a lot of things that I love to do in the off season. Wintertime, indoors, baby.
Let me tell you, he likes to collect club heads in golf.
Yeah.
That is one thing that he likes to do.
Well, you're the jokester, aren't you? The man who can't break his driver when he tries to, and I take one swing, and it's time to get a new driver.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but let's go down. Let's look at the roster, Rhett. Golfing. I'll tell you right now, I picture C.J. Miles being an avid golfer, and I see him.
I've seen him golf.
Have you?
Yeah, well, not in person, but I've seen him out. I've seen pictures of him on the golf course.
That would have been incredible. Look at shot in the dark. C.J. Miles. I just can see being a great golfer and liking to do that in the off season. How awesome would that be? Let's go play some golf with C.J. Miles, the 3-point.
Take one guess of who else would be playing golf on the Pacers team right now.
George Hill.
Wow. You nailed it.
Bam! Indiana Pacers knowledge right there.
Wow, I thought that was going to be a tricky one for you. Goodness.
Hey.
There you go. Good stuff.
That is good stuff. So, hey, George Hill likes to play golf. You know what? What does Paul George like to do? I think he likes to fish.
He likes to bowl.
He likes to fish and bowl. I like to do both of those things. Do you like to do both of those things?
Oh, I like to bowl. I'm not a fan of putting on the worms.
Oh,
but
boy.
I like to take off the fish.
We got a real man here.
They're so gooey and ooey.
Oh, wow. You sound like the guy on I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry. How about that?
Gooey.
Yes. Wow, Rhett.
Goodness.
Okay, well, hey, fishing.
I will put it on, I just not a fan of it.
Hey, it's good to put it on. I tell you what, that is good stuff. Oh, man. Okay, so fishing, he's like that. Let's look at just a shot in the dark. Rodney Stuckey is definitely a hunter. What do you think? Don't you see him with a bow and arrow hiding in a tree, ready to kill a deer?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, come on, I see it. Rodney Stuckey, tweet him right now. I bet he's a hunter.
No.
Oh, that would be great.
No.
David West. Now, I could definitely see that man being a hunter, liking to kill something.
Yeah, he's a hunter in the boxing ring, that's for sure. He does like to box.
Does he?
Yeah, he's a Golden Glover.
Oh, my, how about that? That doesn't surprise me. He's looked like he's wanted to box with some guys on the court before.
No kidding. Yeah, he is he's somebody I would not want to mess with.
No, not at all.
Like to have him on my side.
Yes, no doubt about that. How about, I picture Roy Hibbert being a baseball guy.
I feel like he sits in the trash can.
Oh, man, that's great.
Because he's trash.
No,
but, yeah, he does the celebrity game in baseball every year at the Indians field. So
is that right?
Yeah, he does play some baseball.
How about that?
Yeah.
Boy, as awkward as he is playing basketball, I can imagine him swinging a bat.
Where the hell is his strike zone?
Yeah, no kidding. Jeez, the top of Banker's Life?
Goodness.
I mean, geez, that
catcher probably has to stand up.
Yeah, exactly. That would be very interesting to see. I'll have to go catch a game of Roy Hibbert.
Yeah,
that would be entertaining.
I was wanting to go see the celebrity game last year, but I couldn't for some reason. But that would have been a heck of a thing to see. See the big fella out there.
Yes, it would.
Maybe he's better at baseball than basketball. Well, it probably wouldn't take much, but yeah.
No, I wouldn't think so either.
One person I would like to see. What do you think Jan Mahimi does?
Jan Mahimi, he definitely goes to plays.
What?
He goes to plays.
Oh
There's no doubt about it. He goes to see Romeo and Juliet, or he goes to see a reenactment of James and the Giant Peach, or something ridiculous and off the radar. That is Jan Mahimi. I just see it. I see it. He's a jokester too. I can just see him enjoying something laid back like that and just random that you wouldn't expect.
Then this one's going to throw you off. He's a clothing designer. He owns a clothing company in France.
That does throw me off, but that explains it. So he likes to go see plays to see what the actors and actresses are wearing.
Yeah, no.
The performers, that's where he gets his ideas.
He is one fresh dude. If you have seen him outside of once he's entering the NBA arena or leaving, he is always fresh to death. He's styling. So, I could see it.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, but that was one that threw me off. That's for sure.
Me off. I picture C.J. Watson being a boater, like be out there on the lake.
I could see that.
With his beard, just laying out on the boat.
Except he has a big head. It might drown him.
Yeah, very true. He does have a big head. That would be interesting, but
definitely wouldn't be used as a bobber.
No, no doubt. I think I could see him enjoying some boating time, and it would be really interesting. Donald Sloan, volunteer firefighter, no doubt about that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think that's something Roy Hibbert should do.
Yeah.
7'2" doesn't have to use a ladder.
No, he doesn't. That's for sure. Luis Scola. What do you think Luis Scola enjoys? That goofy
appearing
guy.
in Shrek.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, because of his accent, and it would be perfect.
He looks exactly like the guy from Shrek. He is. That is definitely him. He's probably casting for Shrek 4 or something.
Yeah, I don't. Luis Scola definitely does something off the radar.
Oh yeah, he's a wine producer, I bet.
A wine producer?
Yeah, he loves his fine wine.
Yeah, I could see fine wine, and maybe he enjoys going to stock car races.
Probably not.
Wouldn't you expect to find him at a stock car race? With a baseball cap on and a hot dog in his hand.
Well, I wouldn't see him because I wouldn't even see myself going to a stock car race.
Oh, they're great, Rhett. You gotta be kidding me.
I've been. Prefer not to.
Well, how about that?
Watching somebody go in a circle. Come on.
With dirt flying up and them crashing into each other, it's entertaining stuff.
Actually, I saw one catch on fire when I was there.
Well, good gravy.
Yeah, he actually got out of the car. He wasn't on fire, though. That's good news.
That is good news. It's not Ricky Bobby.
I was about to say that.
That's interesting. Help me, Tom Cruise. All right. Yeah, that is.
Help me, baby Jesus.
Yeah, that is a classic movie. Wow. Oh my gosh. Dom Jean Rudez.
Oh my.
What does that man do?
Well, I'm not really too familiar with him.
Exactly. So that makes me believe that he does something secretive. Maybe he works for the CIA.
Hey, wow, we think alike.
How about that? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how he played this year.
Yeah.
Absent. But, yeah, I mean, a little secretive.
Undercover.
So maybe he's just sticking with that same profile. I don't know. Dom Jean Rudez. What do you do? That would be interesting to see. How about Chris Copeland?
Knife fights.
Yeah, partying in the club. Yeah, we know that. That's a Chris Copeland there. But other than that, Chris Copeland, I can see him
Cockfighting.
safari guide.
Nope.
I can
Cockfighting.
see him being a tour guide for a safari.
Oh my, that.
Welcome.
The
We are blending. Yes, we are dancing.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I definitely see him out there.
That would definitely be an interesting one.
It really would. It really would.
I would like to see him try out for that or for blended. Try out for that role.
I would too, because it would be perfect.
It'd be hilarious.
Lavoy Allen. What do you think he does in the off season? Especially in this time, in the spring. What would Lavoy Allen do?
Boy, that one's a stumper, just like Dom John Rudez. Oh.
It is. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he doesn't do much for fun. Maybe he just goes shopping and
Collects pins.
yeah, exactly. Pennies off the street. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just a guy who doesn't really do anything.
Average Joe.
Just your average Joe. We'll call Lavoy Allen your average Joe. Of course.
Or he's a hardcore partier.
Yeah. Of course, we say this, and
Under the
he
table.
probably loves to go skydiving and deep sea fishing and everything extravagant. But
Oh yeah.
that's just I see him being just kind of low profile and the average Joe. I really do. Solomon Hill. What does Solomon Hill do?
Well, we know that he didn't really spend too much time in the gym this summer.
We do know that. How about I can see him being a movie watcher. He watches movies inside.
Yeah, he has his own theater. Could see that.
He probably does. And then he has his own indoor basketball court probably where he's expecting to someday be like Michael Jordan, but he won't. And so he decides to call it quits and just watch movies.
No, he could play soccer.
That's true.
He could try and be like Michael Jordan and go to baseball or something.
That's right. Soccer.
Oh, I could actually see him as actually a tennis player. I could see him playing tennis. I could see Lavoy Allen actually playing tennis.
Couldn't you?
Except he's kind of too tall, but
hey,
I could see him. I could
You're
see him.
pretty tall too. You play tennis.
I could not very well.
Hey, okay. Can't wait to play you in tennis.
Oh.
So that would be interesting. And then the last guy, Shane Whittington, the guy we haven't heard much of or seen much of this year.
He's actually in the D-League finals right now.
How about that?
Yeah, fun fact for you.
That is a fun fact. I like it. So Shane Whittington, though, what do you think he does?
Oh my.
Hot air balloon rides?
That or he volunteers at a local homeless shelter because that's just the type of guy he is.
Oh, he got very
Probably not.
Maybe he is. Maybe he is just outgoing like that. Volunteer. Maybe he's a volunteer guy. That's what he does.
Yeah.
That would be
one thing that, does stand out for let's go back to David West really quick. He actually volunteers at the local churches in Indianapolis. My mother has a friend that goes to the same church as him. Every Sunday, almost every Sunday, he's there, and he helps out around the community. He's a great guy in the off season. He does it all.
David West, yes,
that does shock me.
Yeah, David West is a good man.
Yeah,
and he absolutely does. He is very involved in community. Really, the Pacers in general do a good job of being involved in helping the community and hosting events and stuff. That's great to see. David West, good connection with the city of Indianapolis.
Yep, exactly.
But he's just a hunter. Outside of that,
goodness gracious.
So, yeah, that's a lot of fun. It really is to see how that goes.
You see how mad he
This
gets
team-
on the court when he misses a
I
shot.
know.
Just imagine him missing a deer.
No, I
Probably
know
just
exactly.
probably just takes off firing.
Yeah. Well, he'll probably go and try and catch it himself after he misses it. I mean, I could see him being that angry of a guy. But that's the thing. He's got a lot of anger up in there. He's a strong man, likes to box and all this, and then he's just the kindest heart.
Yep,
Reaches out
average
to the
Joe.
community. That's what's beautiful. You can't ever judge a book by its cover, Rhett, but it is very great to see. These guys, I bet they have a blast. I bet 3/4 of them really do play golf. Who doesn't? It's a great sport. Summertime, springtime now, perfect for it. In fact, I've been seeing the golf courses lately around South Central Kentucky. It is beautiful. Rhett, it makes me want to get out there and play with you.
Oh man, I can't wait to go play. I went to the driving range the other day, and I thought my fingers were gonna fall off.
You lost your game.
Oh no, that's still there. Still crushed the ball, but but
Cocky man.
but
We'll have to get it on
ripping
record.
a club for the first time of the year. Oh my, talking about something that was not feeling comfortable.
Probably not. You find
I
out.
forgot my glove too, so that's probably one of the problems.
That doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Wow.
Yes.
How about that? It's interesting, but it is a great sport. I'd imagine a lot of them do play. If out of all the players, let's say the starting 5, just go with the starting 5. Let's assume all of them play golf. Who do you think would be the best golfer?
Paul George.
I agree.
I
Natural talent.
believe from when I was actually keeping up when they had a celebrity, thing for the Pacers for a golf scramble. CJ Watson was actually awful.
CJ Watson.
Yeah, they said that. I believe that when I was watching that, they said that he was probably one of the worst golfers on the team.
How about that?
Yeah, and I believe that was just last year when they did that. Paul George was as cocky as ever, if I believe.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Paul George.
Yeah.
I bet they have a great time together out there.
Oh yeah.
Just like they do on the court. This team. That's awesome.
One more. What do you think Frank Vogel does in the off season?
Oh boy. Frank Vogel is a family man.
No.
I can see it.
I feel like
He goes to theme parks.
he's a zookeeper.
He goes to water parks.
Yeah, he probably does. He does look like the family man.
He definitely is a family man. He'll take his family on vacation.
I'd hope he has money.
Yeah, I would too. He probably goes to plays. And I definitely see him going to baseball games. He probably does it all. Frank Vogel is probably the most proactive guy in the off season. Besides when he's coaching and getting the team ready for the next season. On his off time, I bet you. He's a jack of all trades. He does everything.
Yeah, I could see it.
I could too. I could too.
Now I just really want to talk to him and see what they actually do.
Yeah, hey, let's make it happen.
Oh yeah.
Let's make it happen. Let's reach out to the guys and let's find out exactly what they do. All right. Well, that was fun, Rhett. It's about all we have for tonight. And guess what? We have officially extended this show to an hour. No more 45 minutes. Surprise, everyone. The Indiana Pacers podcast show is now an hour long from here on out.
And the fireworks are now
show.
going off.
They are. I can hear it. It's beautiful. Rhett, what a great show. To recap what we talked about, we talked about the Pacers' upcoming summer. We talked about the possibility of the Western Conference breaking up and blending with the Eastern Conference.
Blending.
How would we are blending? Yes, we are dancing. How would Indiana fare in the Western Conference? We had fun with Indiana's roster as far as off-season free time goes. It was a great show. That is all we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and feel free to leave any comments. Tweet and retweet the show at Kyle M. Newman and at Rhett Hensley. We will be back at it next Wednesday by 8 Eastern Time. I'm Kyle Newman.
And I'm Rhett Hensley.
Have a good night. Go Pacers.
Go Pacers.